The movie opens on an ordinary morning in Chennai. A man is walking his dog when the animal suddenly bolts toward an abandoned concrete drain near a lake. Inside it, wrapped in plastic, is the body of a young girl. Her name is Samyukta, and she is only 15 years old. Then the scene cuts. A man drags the girl into a room, pulls out an axe and swings at her. But none of it is real. It is a film shoot, directed by a man named Arun Kumar. And the whole thing turns out to be his dream when a crew member walks in holding a ringing alarm clock. In reality, Aaron is unemployed and obsessed with becoming a famous director of psychological killer films. His walls are covered with photos of psychopaths and clippings about brutal murders, all research for his first script. One of the cases pinned up there is the recent murder of Samyukta. Every day he and his friend pitch his psycho thriller to producer after producer, and every day they get rejected. At home, his younger sister still believes in him, but his mother is done watching him stay unemployed. There is also a shadow over the family. Arun's father was a police officer who died about a year and a half ago. Because of that service record, and with help from his brother-in-law Munish, Arun is offered a chance to join the force as a sub-inspector. He takes the job, passes a test that is basically a formality, and gets accepted. Soon after, a schoolgirl named Amuda is kidnapped on her way home from class. The abductor leaves behind a gift box tied to her pet dog, and inside the box is a smashed doll's head. Her mother reports the case immediately. That same night, Munish lectures Arun about taking the job seriously. Meanwhile, Munish's daughter Amu talks Arun into forging her father's signature on a bad report card, then asks him to pose as her father in front of her teacher, a woman named Viji. Munish and his wife catch him in the act. Amu keeps getting more rebellious, so her mother decides to send her to a boarding school. Around this time, Arun prints out a photo of the doll's severed head. He then runs into Viji at a supermarket with her young daughter Kayal, who was born mute and struggles to hear. Arun is drawn to Viji immediately and quietly pays for their groceries. Back in his room, Arun studies the photo of the broken doll head, and his mind jumps straight to Samyukta's murder. The damage on the doll's face looks disturbingly similar to the mutilation on Samyukta's face. That connection refuses to leave him alone. The next morning, he brings his suspicions to Munish, who does not take him seriously. The police have already arrested a man they believe kidnapped Amuda, and as far as they are concerned, the case is closed. Arun is convinced they have the wrong man, so he goes straight to his superior, an officer named Lakshmi, and lays out his theory. Whoever killed Samyukta and whoever took Amuda is the same person, a calculating psychopath who plans every single move. Both victims are 15-year-old schoolgirls. He puts the photo of Samyukta's body next to the doll head from the gift box, and the match is chilling. The hair pulled back from the forehead, the drilled eyes, the mutilated mouth, all of it lines up with the injuries on the victim. He also explains that many psychopaths leave clues on purpose because they enjoy creating fear. But Lakshmi refuses to buy any of it, and especially when she finds out his knowledge comes from research for a movie script. Aaron tells her time is running out. Samyukta was found dead 2 days after her kidnapping, and it is already the second day since Amuda disappeared. Lakshmi, annoyed by a rookie lecturing her, throws him out. Outside, Aaron sees officers rushing toward a new crime scene. Munish confirms it. Aaron was right. Amuda has been found dead under a highway, wrapped in plastic and hung upside down inside a pipe. Now Aaron chases the gift box clue. Nobody who works Samyukta's case remembers a box like that, so he goes to her boarding school, where her roommate remembers something important. Shortly after Samyukta left, someone placed an identical gift box in front of their room, holding the exact same broken doll head. With the link confirmed, Arun heads to the hospital for Amuda's autopsy. The examiner, Dr. Nandan, is visibly shaken. He explains that the killer tortured Amuda while she was still alive, but there were no signs of sexual assault. Arun shows him Samyukta's report, points out that both girls were killed the same way, and presents the doll head to seal the connection. Lakshmi's superior, an officer named Gajaraj, arrives demanding answers. Arun lays out the whole theory and then suggests something unusual. The media should release nothing about the killer or Amuda's death. If the killer is denied the attention he craves, he may become unstable and make a mistake. After approval from the higher-ups, Gajaraj agrees. The case is buried in silence, hidden even from Amuda's own parents so they never have to see her condition, and her body is moved to a secured medical storage facility under Dr. Nandan's care. Meanwhile, Munish enrolls Amu at a girls' boarding school called MKVP. During the visit, they notice a teacher named Inbaraj who enforces discipline in a harsh, abusive way. Amu ends up in his class. Arun and Munish also start hunting through toy shops for the killer's doll, only to learn it is an old model that nobody sells anymore. At the school where VG teaches, something darker is already in motion. As classes end, VG notices one of her students, a girl named Mira, talking to a rickshaw driver before climbing into his vehicle. That driver is connected to the killer, and Mira is kidnapped soon after. VG tells Arun what she saw, but she cannot recall the license plate. Arun asks her to help search the nearby stands, and she declines, saying she never saw the driver's face and needs to pick up Kyle. That night, after collecting Kyle and going to a birthday party, they wait for a bus that never comes. A rickshaw carrying 3 men pulls up and offers a ride. VG senses danger and walks away, and by pure luck, she runs into Arun. He confronts the men, handles them, then escorts VG and Kyle home. By now, Arun has clearly fallen for VG, and through Amu, he learns more about her. Kyle is not VG's biological daughter. She is the child of VG's late sister, and VG has raised her alone. When they reach home, Kyle asks Arun for a short bike ride, and the 3 of them grow closer. Before he leaves, VG promises to help identify the killer's rickshaw. The next morning, they search several rickshaw stands and even ride a few, but the suspect is nowhere. Then, the following day at home, VG spots a star-shaped decoration belonging to Kyle, and it jogs her memory. The rickshaw Mira got into had a star logo with the word race on it, and the license plate number comes back to her. At that same moment, Aaron gets news that Mira has been found dead, dumped in a company's garbage disposal area. His motorcycle has a blown tire, so he and a colleague grab a rickshaw to reach the scene. On the way, VG calls trying to describe the vehicle, but the signal keeps cutting out. What Aaron does not realize is that the rickshaw he is sitting in is the killer's vehicle. They arrive, Mira's body is pulled from the trash, and then VG calls again with a clear line. As she describes the rickshaw, Aaron realizes it is the one he just rode in. He chases the vehicle down and catches the driver. Under interrogation, the man insists he is no killer. He admits he often flirts with schoolgirls, but he says that on the day Mira disappeared, he was simply hired by a man to drive a girl to his house. That man, he says, is in Barrage. Arun and his team raid in Barrage's address, but he is at the school teaching. When Munish sees the photo, he realizes with horror that this is the same teacher now in charge of his daughter. Inside the house, the police find Mira's school bag and another gift box with a broken doll head, but nothing else ties him to the murders. They rush straight to MKBP. At the school, Amu is being humiliated in class for scoring the lowest, and afterward, Barrage keeps her behind, threatening that she could be held back a year. As she breaks down, he orders her to shut the classroom door. Before anything worse can happen, Arun and the police burst in, and Arun attacks him instantly. Later at the hospital, Barrage wakes up. Munish, furious about what nearly happened to his daughter, accuses him of the assault and the murders. Barrage admits he has done inappropriate things, but he insists he is not a killer. On the day Mira vanished, he arranged a rickshaw to take his private student home and rode along himself. He lured her by mentioning that his wife was skilled in sewing, knowing Mira loved it, and she followed him to his house. There he prepared a drink laced with sleeping medicine. But Mira got suspicious and ran before he could act. When he chased after her, she had vanished, and all he found was a gift box left behind, the same kind linked to the killer. Nobody believes him. The evidence still points at Barrage, so he is named the prime suspect and held until he confesses. For a brief moment, life moves on. Arun and Munish celebrate Amu's birthday, and Munish gives her a pink teddy bear. Then Arun gets urgent news that Barrage has tried to escape from the hospital. He rushes over and finds the police surrounding the man, who has stolen a gun and is threatening a nurse. Arun slips into the building through the elevator, confronts him, and in a burst of anger, kills him. Right after that, Munish calls with devastating news. Amu has been kidnapped, and a gift box has been left behind, exactly like the other cases. Arun reviews footage from the birthday party and notices Amu talking to someone outside the house shortly before she disappeared. According to a friend, a van pulled up and Amu assumed it belonged to a family member, but nobody saw the driver clearly because it was too dark. For 2 days, the police hunt for the van and get nowhere. Munish is falling apart, but he still clings to the hope that his daughter is strong enough to escape on her own. Then everything collapses. While Munish is still in tears, Arun notices a piece of plastic sticking out of the trunk of Munish's own car. He opens it, and his worst fear is confirmed. Amu's body has been placed inside by the killer. Arun tries to stop Munish from looking, but as a father he refuses, and he sees his daughter's body. Moments later, Munish's wife arrives. To protect her, Munish invents an excuse, saying he got emotional over the teddy bear, and he asks Arun to take the car and keep investigating. Arun quietly transports Amu's body to the medical storage facility, hiding her death even from her own mother. Memories of teaching Amu to drive and holding her as a newborn hit him hard. Munish and his wife return to their hometown to cope, though the truth cannot stay buried forever. Arun then faces his own consequences. The Human Rights Committee summons him over the shooting of Inbaraj, especially since it was never proven Inbaraj was the killer. Gajaraj suspends him for 3 months and pulls him off the case. Arun is left with nothing. He failed to save several victims, including someone he loved, and he still has no solid lead on the real killer. Vijay does her best to comfort him. Then Kayal offers him something unexpected, her hearing aid. The device has a recording feature, and when Arun listens, he hears his own grief-filled voice played back, because Kayal had sensed his pain. Vijay explains that the recording function helps with Kayal's speech therapy, and that the device was originally given to her by Meera, who also had hearing difficulties. That detail changes everything. Arun rushes to the medical facility and asks Dr. Nandan to retrieve any belongings still with Meera's body. Among them is Meera's own hearing aid. Arun and Vijay listen to the recording. It captures Meera's desperate cries in her final moments. But underneath the screaming, there is a crucial clue. The killer had been playing a piano piece. Arun takes it to a professional pianist, who identifies it as a rare style, a blend of Anglo-Indian and Mexican influences, meaning the killer is almost certainly a highly skilled pianist. Arun broadcasts the piece on a radio station and asks listeners to call in with anything they know. For hours, nobody can place it. Then, just as the session is ending, one caller recognizes it. She is a student at MKVP, and she remembers hearing that exact piece during a school anniversary event 3 months earlier. The next morning, Arun reviews footage from that event. Performance after performance, none of the music matches. Then, near the end, he finds it. The closing act is a magic show, and the same piano piece is playing in the background. The principal explains that the performer was an elderly woman who could not speak. She had volunteered, and the school never collected any contact information. Arun immediately asks Vijay whether her school hosted a similar magic show just before Meera was kidnapped. It did. He tells her to review that recording and sends his colleague Venkat to check the footage from Amuta's school. Once all the recordings are analyzed, a chilling pattern appears. Every school the victims attended had hosted an event ending with a magic performance by the same elderly woman, and during each show, one student was picked as a volunteer to come on stage. Those students all became the victims. The timeline is horrifyingly precise. After each performance, the chosen girl would be kidnapped 2 days later, then found dead 2 days after that. It started with Samyukta in October, then Amuta in November, Meera in December, and Amu in January. The killer uses the magic show to build a false sense of familiarity with the girls, which makes them easier to abduct. It is already February. If the pattern holds, another girl is about to be taken. They find that the same magician performed at another school just 2 days ago, which means the kidnapping could happen at any moment. Arun, Venkat, and the team rush there and review the footage. The student picked during the performance is a girl named Sanjana. Arun goes straight to her classroom and gives the students urgent advice about dangerous strangers. Stay calm, look for a way to escape, find help, and have the courage to fight back. Before leaving, he has every student write down his phone number, and to secure Sanjana's contact, he places a missed call from her phone to his own. When school ends, Arun and his team tail Sanjana. She takes a rickshaw to her tutoring class, then leaves with a friend who drops her in a residential area. As she walks toward her house, a van slowly approaches. Arun reaches for his gun, but a water truck rolls in and blocks his view. By the time they rush forward, the van is gone. They race to the house and find her safe and unharmed. The van had only stopped to ask for directions, but the girl does not recognize Arun at all, and that is when it hits them. She is not Sanjana. She is her twin sister, Sangeeta. The real Sanjana is at her music class, across from the school. They are already too late. The gift box has been left behind, and Sanjana has been taken. Luckily, Arun already has her number. The police start tracking her phone, and Arun follows the coordinates. Then the signal drops, forcing him to search the area around the last known point. Meanwhile, Sanjana wakes up. At first, she does not suspect the elderly magician calmly playing the piano. Then she steps into the bathroom and finds headless dolls, sharp weapons, and strands of human hair. She tries to call for help, but there is no signal inside the building, which explains why the tracker went dark. The woman tries to attack her, and Sanjana slams the door shut just in time. After a tense struggle, she catches a weak signal and calls Aaron. The tracker comes back online, and it leads him to a house. Inside, the woman breaks through the bathroom door while Arun tells Sanjana to stay brave. She escapes through a small window and runs through dark corridors, only to end up right back where she started, and she is captured again. Arun reaches the house and everything looks normal at first, but something feels wrong. He notices a small irregularity in a wardrobe, and since the tracking point matches exactly, he breaks it open, finds a hidden entrance, and finds Sanjana. The woman is already gone. Arun chases the magician's vehicle, but she slips away again. Afterward, Arun and Venkat search the house properly. They find the dolls used as clues, along with photos of the woman with her husband and young son. Looking at those photos, something clicks for Aaron. He rushes back to his room, certain he has seen this family before, and digging through his case files and old articles, he finds a record connected to that exact family. Aaron tracks down the officer who originally handled that case, a man named Raja, still living in Chennai. Raja tells him a story from the 1980s. The woman in the photos is named Mary. Her husband Fernandez was a police officer, and they had a son named Christopher. Mary worked as a piano teacher, but after her husband died, she started performing as a magician to support herself and her son. Christopher had a brutal childhood. When he started school, he was bullied constantly because of a hormonal condition that made him look far older than his age. The only person who treated him kindly was a girl named Sophie, who chose to be his friend. Mary did everything she could for him, teaching him piano and magic. On his birthday, Sophie gave Christopher a doll, the same doll that would later become the killer's signature. Over time, Christopher fell in love with Sophie and confessed. She only saw him as a friend and slowly pulled away. He could not accept the rejection, and his feelings twisted into obsession. Sophie tried to make him understand his condition by showing him books about genetics, but he refused to accept it, insisting he was normal. Eventually, she was forced to tell him the truth. His condition meant he would never live a normal life, and she could not imagine a future with him. Those words destroyed him. At school, things got worse. His classmates found out about his condition and mocked him until he was humiliated in front of everyone. Convinced Sophie had spread the rumor, he ran home and tore the head off the doll she had given him. Mary then confronted Sophie on her way home from school, handed her a box containing the broken doll head, and killed her in a fit of rage to avenge her son. Raja was the officer who arrested Mary back then, but after she served her sentence, reports claim that Mary and Christopher had died in an accident. That is why Raja is stunned to hear that Mary is alive and connected to a series of murders targeting girls the same age Sophie had been. That night, Aaron tries to process it all and imagines Mary attacking him, though it turns out to be a nightmare. Then his phone rings. It is Raja, urgently asking him to come over, saying he has found something unusual in the photos and videos of Mary. But before Aaron can get there, Raja takes his medication and unknowingly drinks poison. Aaron arrives to find Raja dead. He calls Venkat, tells him Mary must be responsible and cannot have gone far, and asks him to search the area. Then he remembers Raja mentioning something unusual in the photos, so he quickly photographs everything laid out on Raja's table. He also notices a bloody handprint Raja left behind, almost like he was pointing at a clue before he died. Lakshmi then summons Arun to the station, reminding him he is suspended and still investigating. She refuses to listen and has another officer restrain him. Once things settle, Aaron quietly asks a trusted colleague to bring him the photos from Raja's table, and he arranges them in the exact order Raja had left them. That is when the clue finally makes sense. One photo shows Mary covering her face with her hand. Arun zooms in, and he sees it. The hand has 6 fingers. Everything falls into place. The real killer is not Mary, it is Christopher, and that applies to the past too. Even Sophie's murder was committed by Christopher himself, not his mother. Aaron is released and rushes to tell Lakshmi everything, and she still refuses to believe him. Meanwhile, Christopher changes his disguise. Instead of dressing as his mother, he now dresses as a police officer, which lets him move through checkpoints without suspicion. He knows exactly who Arun is, and he sets his next target on Kayal. He shows up at Viji's house. Viji calls Arun again and again, but he ignores the calls because he is still arguing with Lakshmi. When he finally answers, He realizes too late that Christopher is already inside. VG locks herself in a room, but that was the point. Christopher never intended to break in. While she focuses on the door, Kyle, who is outside the room, is quietly taken away. Arun is furious when he understands what happened, and Lakshmi dismisses his reaction as overdramatic until one of his fellow officers loses patience and restrains her instead. Elsewhere, Venkat is still searching when he spots a suspicious vehicle with a loose tire. He approaches the driver, who calmly starts changing it. At that exact moment, Arun calls with the truth. The killer is Christopher, not Mary. He looks older than his real age, and he has 6 fingers on his right hand. Kyle has been kidnapped. Venkat looks down at the man in front of him and sees it. 6 fingers. He draws his weapon, shoots out the tire, and opens the trunk, where he finds Kyle unconscious inside. Christopher is ordered out of the car. Arun tells Venkat to shoot him immediately, but Venkat hesitates. Christopher starts using sleight of hand tricks to buy time, and in that brief moment of uncertainty, he strikes and attacks Venkat. The spot where Christopher stopped his car happens to be near the medical storage facility. Kyle wakes up and tries to escape, and as she runs, she happens to meet Dr. Nandan. Seeing Christopher approaching with a hammer, Nandan pulls her inside the building to protect her. Christopher follows them in and kills Nandan without hesitation. Not far away, Aaron finds Venkat's body. He realizes what is happening and races to the medical facility, arriving moments before Kyle becomes the next victim. The final confrontation begins. Christopher is no ordinary opponent. His movements are unpredictable, mixing agility with a magician's precision, and Arun is quickly overpowered. Christopher prepares to kill Kyle, gripping his hammer with a calm smile. Desperate, Arun looks for a way to break his focus. He remembers Christopher's past, the humiliation, the word that once shattered him, and he repeats it over and over, forcing Christopher to relive that pain. It works. Christopher's composure cracks, and Arun fights back with everything he has, but he makes a mistake and gets injured. Christopher recovers, picks up the hammer, and moves toward Kyle again. At that critical moment, Kyle pushes a sharp metal object toward Arun. With one last effort, he uses it to strike back and finally brings Christopher down for good. Sometime later, Arun is recovering in the hospital, with Vijay and Kyle safe beside him. The news reports that Christopher is dead, but the credit goes to Lakshmi and her team. Arun does not argue. For him, the only thing that matters is that the killings have stopped. Then his phone rings. It is one of the producers he once approached, and this time the answer is different. The producer is ready to give him his chance to direct a psychological thriller inspired by the very case that changed his life. So the moral of the story is, if a magic show ends with a creepy free gift, run first and clap later.